Good evening. Good evening. I'm MarkFarr, and I'm proud to say I'm a high school science teacher from the Nickerson South Hutchinson School District, currently serving as the president of Kansas NEA. It's truly an honor to represent our over 40,000 educators across Kansas. I know that everyone here today shares KNEA's vision of a great public school for every student. And what's more, you understand that it takes citizens and leaders who will make public education a priority. Raise your hand if you value public education. When I visit with teachers, parents, community leaders, and students across the state, one thing is clear. Our future as a prosperous state depends on the promise of public education. That promise is fulfilled by dedicated professionals working in Kansas public schools. Aside from involved parents, a child's teacher is his or her strongest advocate. However, advocacy requires a strong voice. Unfortunately, many elected leaders in our state have put special interests above our students, and in doing so, have sought to silence teachers. We believe that we serve a special interest too. Ours are not wealthy millionaires. Our special interests are our students. It was in the dark of night on a weekend last April when collectively Kansas educators said we've had enough attacks on public schools, our profession, and those we serve with deep dedication and conviction, our students. I've never been more proud to be an educator in Kansas as I have been since last April. I really believe Kansans that support public education have become more alive, more energized, more united, and willing to stand up and speak up for public education. I'm asking you to join us as we stand up and we speak up for public education. Raise your hands if you're ready to stand up and speak up for public education. November 4th is a critical day for Kansas families and students. I'm here today to issue you a challenge to vote in this year's election. It's time to put a stop to school closures like those in Marquette and Fontana. It's time to end the need for Kansas students to ride school buses for hours, often traveling past their neighborhood schools that have been closed. That's right. It's time to turn on the lights in the school libraries, music rooms, and locker rooms that have gone dark in recent years due to budget cuts. It's time to end giving voice and authority to special interest lobbyists on government commissions, while those that work directly with students, their teachers, are ignored.
Absolutely.
It's time to restore the cuts to education and for the state to adhere to the mandate from the Supreme Court without punishing education professionals with the dark of night policy attacks. How can you help? You can vote now. Voting early is underway. By all accounts, Kansans are voting in record numbers. If you've already voted, raise your hand. If you're going to vote this week, raise your hand. I challenge each of you to push your friends, your neighbors, and your coworkers to the polls. The students in our classrooms across the state deserve legislators who will provide schools with the resources they need and put an end to special interest politics. Raise your hand if you're ready to stand up and speak up so schools have the resources they need to be successful. Kansans have been flooded by negative TV ads and expensive glossy postcards created by marketing firms with ties to the very special interests working against our schools. But there are some very simple facts that no postcard can dispute. First, The Supreme Court ruled that public school funding provided under the governor's administration and his supermajority in the legislature was unconstitutional. Second, the amount of funding provided for use by students in classrooms is lower than when the governor took office. Third, shifting tax responsibility so that the neediest Kansans shoulder more while the wealthiest benefit the most has resulted in historic revenue loss.
That's right.
Credit bond rating downgrades and a gaping hole in basic services. As a teacher, my greatest concern is for our students and for the years of opportunity that they've lost and will never get back. On November 4th, we must elect leaders that share our commitment for a quality public education system in Kansas. Raise your hand if you're ready for a change. Raise your hand if you're ready for a change. Working Kansans are standing up and speaking up. Firefighters, teachers, law enforcement, labor organization, and newspapers from Scott City to Kansas City, as well as prominent Kansas Republicans, have all said they're ready for a change. Are you ready for a change? Yeah. They endorse a true supporter of public education, someone who has consistently stood up for Kansas schools. Please join me in welcoming a true education supporter, Paul Davis.